What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Ham Radio Crash Course. Welcome to Saturday. Today we're taking one to the trolls. Not really. But I got a lot of comments on, hey, why don't you test those really expensive radios on your spurious emissions field test? So I figured I'd answer that and give you measurements of all these crazy radios I've got in front of me here. So stay tuned. We're going to be testing all these radios. Maybe you'll decide which one may be from you, at least from a spurious emission standpoint. Have fun with the memes as I tune things up on this end, and we'll get started real soon. All right. Thanks again, everybody, for coming out. Thanks for coming out and having some fun, talking some ham radio. We're getting back into the nerdy side of things. We're going to talk about testing radios and why you should care. I think that's the big thing. The field test, I think, dragged out a lot of people who were able to, due to some mental gymnastics, kind of trick themselves into thinking that they weren't actually causing any problems with radios that create spurious emissions. But we know that's not the case. The reality is that, yeah, you legitimately are transmitting on either the even harmonics or potentially off of a spur of a radio. You're putting out these signals that could be causing interference. So, absolutely. Let's take a look at the overhead really quick. I'm going to show you the radios that either I have tested today or we're going to test live. But I've got the results of all this. Okay, I've got results for all this. But hang on to your butts. Here's what we're testing. Yeah. So I got to lower that fan. It was getting a little noisy. So yeah, I went through all of these radios today and measured, took the measurements of, and I'll show you what I did too. Obviously, Tiny SA Ultra there doing the heavy lifting, but yeah, a lot of stuff to get done for this show today. So a couple of fangs in there, got a couple of fangs, a lot of Chinese radios, a lot of Japanese radios that are actually in part mostly made in China, or the components are mostly made in China, and final assembly is done in Japan. So we went through a lot, and don't worry, we're going to give you the Cliff Notes version of this, because there's no way we'd be able to get through all these in an hour, right? Right. I hope you can all appreciate that, or hopefully you do. You'll probably will once you see the work I went through, and I'm getting some weird, oh boy, it's going to be one of those type of streams, huh? There we go. A little bit of a lag. Hey, go check out hamtactical.com. It helps me run this channel and do all this crazy stuff I do, as well as it helps to support the podcast I run with my wife. So thanks a lot for your support over there. She runs this merch channel or merch website and has all of our shirt designs that you came up with. A lot of them came up by you from the podcast. Shout out to Red Summit RF. Hey, what's that? What's that guy there? Take it or toss it, optimizing your portable ham radio experience. What really works? That's me for tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you're around, might be a fun little talk. We're going to be hanging out with Red and some other folks, I believe, having a cool time, talking about portable operations. I'm looking forward to it. So what's the origin of this entire video? Why am I going back to the well on talking about spurious emissions, radios that create random interference, why you should care, right? Well, this is why. I'm going to go back. This is the video from the video that I posted earlier this week. 60 megahertz, there was the second harmonic. First harmonic being the fundamental frequency that we're transmitting on. So that's my radio. I'm transmitting on 146. 850, 146 megahertz, right, is what I'm transmitting on. And if you can look at the SDR there, let me get out of the way. I'm actually receiving on 293 megahertz, right? So that is a harmonic of that fundamental frequency that this radio is putting out. Now, most people, rightfully so, aren't too worried by this because most equipment, most radios meet the FCC standards that they need to be 40 dB suppressed, attenuated from that fundamental frequency, right? 146.5, or what did I say, 580? Doesn't really matter. I'll show you in a second. Well, if you don't meet that FCC standard, it turns out that you could transmit pretty far. How far? Well, in the course of this video, I got to a parking structure about quarter mile, 2/3 of a mile from my house.
Smiley antenna.
In fact, let me go to the one where I'm actually transmitting with the tri-band antenna. Yeah. So if I replay this, let's go back. Yeah, here it is. Third harmonic, hypothetically, with the better antenna.
Kilo India 6, November Alpha Zulu. This is a test on the adventure frequency 146.580.
That's the received audio in the second harmonic.
November Alpha Zulu test. Kilo India 6, November
Third
Alpha
harmonic.
Zulu. This is a test on the adventure frequency 146.580. Kilo India 6, November Alpha Zulu test.
So that third harmonic is actually 70 centimeters. That's the dual band that most of your radios have. So you 2-meter folks, which we do a lot of 2-meter stuff, we're actually transmitting on 70 centimeters with this radio, which was the talk pod. Why did I use the talk pod? Yeah, because it's like the worst offender, and I kind of wanted to see how bad we could go. The answer was extremely bad. I had no idea. I kind of was like all of you. I could probably hear myself in the driveway or maybe at my neighbor's house on a harmonic, on a even harmonic, but not much more than that. The answer was no, much further than that. And that was in suboptimal conditions. Imagine if you were like, you had a better antenna on the roof, or you just had like a 50-watt radio that had just a horrible problem with these harmonics. You'd be transmitting all over the place and out of band. And if you consider a harmonic of 70 centimeters is going to be upwards and into areas where first responders actually operate. Well, now you can see what the problem is, right? So again, we'll hit this up. It's kind of been mentioned a couple of times, but we're aiming for when the frequencies are 225 megahertz between 30 and 225, we're aiming for about 40 dB of attenuation underneath that fundamental frequency. So if we have a 5-watt radio, we would expect that expression of 5 watts in decibels, that second harmonic in every harmonic is going to be 40 dBs suppressed from that, right? That's what we're aiming for. That's our goal. Okay, so fine. How do we test that? Well, that goes back to my whole overhead here with the tiny SA. And in fact, I went ahead and linked to a bunch of this stuff. RNL currently still has the best price for this. Not an affiliate of mine, RNL, but you can like hardly get a better price on a spectrum analyzer than you can at RNL. It's insane what you're able to get for this. But I'm going to plug this into my computer. It's going to be a lot easier to me just showing you it that way. And we're going to test a radio live. We're actually going to test my Motorola radio live, but I figured we'd start out by just going through the radios that I've already tested, and then we can talk about all of it because, again, that's what this is all for. By the way, if you have questions that go beyond just the show topic for today, consider joining us on Discord. The Discord link is in the description, the video description for this video. Actually, I made it like the second thing, so there's really no excuse if you say you can't find it. It's literally like the second thing, because after this hour of hanging out here talking about spurious emissions, we're going to go over to the Discord, and we're going to do a live after chat. We go for hours of answering amateur radio questions, and I'm happy to talk about all of this stuff. But let me show you. We run an application. It is called, at least I had it open, and now it is gone. It is the Tiny SA. I have to go back and find it now. Tiny SA. It is Tiny SA-app. And I did drop the link in the description for that too. So it's really straightforward. I'm gonna bring this up for you here. So here, well, what happened there? Everything got all small. That wasn't what you were supposed to do. It's supposed to be like that, but just in the background. So I don't know what happened there. Hold on. There we go. So here's the Tiny SA application actually, and you can connect this, like I said, to your PC over USB-C. And let me go ahead and connect to mine, which is on COM6. And so now I have an SA. So if I wanted to, in fact, why don't I just show you what that looks like real fast? We'll take the actual numbers in a second, but I'll grab my Motorola here. Let's get him. Oh boy. Calm down now. A lot going on here. This is going to get a bit dicey, but we'll make it work. Hey, Mountain of Beers, the Mountain of Beers. Thank you. Hey, thanks for the support and kind of showing me that this is important to you guys. At least some of you. I think a lot of times I'm singing in the wind when it comes to this, that like people don't really care about spurious emissions. But I do, and I think that there's actually there's a practical reason, even from a preparedness standpoint, why you don't want to mess around with this kind of stuff. But let me go ahead and set the center frequency to 446 megahertz. And I'm just going to transmit into this and see what we get. So, we transmitting? Looks like it. Is that gone? Yeah, that's gone. All right. So there's transmitting on, what is this? Show me. Show me. Oh, that's why. Center frequency's not right. Come on now. And 1 and a 2. And there she is. So there's that spike there in the middle. See how there's nothing on the other sides of it? There's no left or right spikes, spurs that are sticking up, that are shooting up. So that's the fundamental frequency. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu test. All right, so that's just the starting point. We got a lot more to talk about, but that's what we're doing. I'm going to use this device, or I have used this device, to run through all the radios you saw, and we're going to look at the results, and we're going to talk about it a little bit. Now, some of these results are surprising. For one, I think we are entering into somewhat of a Baofeng renaissance, if that's a thing we can say, where Baofengs are not that bad. Once upon a time, the Baofeng, and I'm saying the quintessential UV5R. I'm not talking about the UV5R plus 9 dB, 9 watt, blah, 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 all the new models where they're just taking a new skin and throwing it on there. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your bog standard. Link is in the description to my Amazon A store. They're like $18 right now. I don't know why, but they're like 30% off. In fact, do I have that? Yeah, check this out. They're like 30% off right now. Let me show you. $18.85 for a Baofeng, and this is the one I tested. So we're going to show you that right now. But here's where we go with this. Let me go up. Show you my results. So good versus bad radios, cheap versus cheap. I think people sometimes get it in their head that when I say this is a cheap radio, I just mean that it's like inexpensive. No, I don't care how expensive something is. There is a ton of really good, high quality stuff that you can buy that are like inexpensive. Like think of all those Swedish, fixed blade knives that everybody carries around and that cost like nothing. That naturists and survivalists and fieldcraft guys all carry because they cost like nothing. They're not cheap because they're still decent quality, but they're inexpensive. What I mean by cheap is cheaply made, cheaply constructed, cheap QA quality. Mora knife, yeah, Matt knows what I'm talking about. Mora knife. You can get a fantastic knife for very inexpensive, right? But we wouldn't call them cheap. We would just say that they're inexpensive, right? That's what we're kind of talking about. So I've got a couple of inexpensive radios that I've linked in the show, and yes, those are affiliate links, but they've passed my test so far. So here's our contenders. This is the whole pile of all the radios, and there are good ones, a lot of good ones, but there's a couple of bad ones too that we need to talk about. So first off, I just dove into the UV5R, and I appreciate that on those little black screenshots, you're not going to be able to see the numbers. That's why I wrote the numbers down below. And what I've done here is, so I've said the radio by name. I've mentioned the band I was transmitting on, so I tested this for both 2 meters and 70 centimeters. And then I showed the first harmonic value, the second harmonic, and third harmonic. So first harmonic here is going to be the frequency we're transmitting on. I transmitted on the same frequency for 2 meters and then the same frequency for 70 centimeters. So when you see first harmonic, that reading is the reading after attenuation using my little attenuator, which again is also linked in the description. It is on Amazon. You need to run an attenuator with your tiny SA. You don't want to blow these things up. So fundamental frequencies, -5, -2, fairly reasonable. In fact, that's a little high in some cases, so pretty good. You'd expect that to be about 5 watts. Now, the 5.75 is 5 watts. The 70 centimeters is not 5 watts. It's actually less than that. But now look at the second and third harmonic. When we said that the FCC standard is negative 40 dB below the fundamental. Well, that's passing in all cases, right? The only difference is that item in yellow is that we're only 0.75 dB, negative dB, off of that 40 meter requirement. So I mark that as yellow. That's warning, it's a danger, it's still completely passing, but it's worth a note that you're pretty close, right? Thanks a lot in the chat too. I've been kind of following along. So Arthur, thank you so much. Appreciate your time being a member. Appreciate 17 months. Thank you very much. Thanks again for what you do. Well, thank you. I hope I'm helping. That's the whole point of all this. So not bad. UV5R, $18 radio, actually passing. It's borderline on that 40.75, but not bad. By the way, kids, if you ever go to a Hamfest and you see the ARRL booth set up and they're testing HTs, this is basically what they're doing. Now, what am I doing while I'm making this video? One, I hope I'm not giving you all a false sense of security, because I still think that at the end of the day, you should probably go buy your own tiny SA. Yes, it's $160 or $160 shipped, $160 shipped. But you can answer this question for yourself, because the one thing I can't confirm for you or give you confidence in is quality control. I'm only giving you the value of my Baofeng, not the Baofeng, everyone's Baofeng. I can't do that. And I know that there's a ton of radios that have dubious quality control issues. And a lot of them are Chinese radios, straight up. So, yeah. Hey, thank you, Andy. 32 months. Andy, you're the best, man. You're always the first in every live stream, so cheers to you, bud. I appreciate the support. All right, so let's move on to the GT5R, which I'd say is a clean-ish Baofeng. At least, again, mine is. And so looking at the comparisons here, if we focus on the rightmost columns, the difference between the first harmonic and the second harmonic. So good news, the first harmonic, 6.2 and 5.9, those are right at 5 watts, right? If you did the conversion from dB to watts, that's right on the money. So good, right? But then if you do the comparison of the second harmonic, the suppression of the harmonics, the suppression against the fundamental first harmonic, then we got some pretty good differences. We're 47 dB and 43 dB. Good. That's very good. We're getting the right suppression. And the second 2 meters on the left-hand side, the black image, and 70 centimeters is on the right. Very similar. Actually, they might be the same. I might have screwed that up. Now, here's a radio that's bad, and I want to talk about why it's bad. And I think, I don't think I did a disservice or tricked anybody on this, but I'm still going to talk about this to make sure that everybody's on the same page. The Talk Pod, right? You're literally looking at it, displaying frequencies in VHF 2 meters. The Talk Pod is an FCC licensed GMRS radio, meaning it is supposed to be sold only for use on GMRS. The firmware should not allow me to transmit on 2 meters, which it does, and so I tested it. And that is a bad looking radio. That is an example of some really bad harmonic suppression. That first harmonic, 6.7, second harmonic, 5.4, that second harmonic, so first harmonic, 6.7, the first harmonic on 70 centimeters, 5.4. That second harmonic at 11.4 is akin to basically putting out over a watt of power on that even harmonic. And at 31 dB, the third harmonic was still completely audible a half mile from my house when I used an appropriate 70 centimeter antenna, right? Crazy. Dave in Temecula, thanks for sharing your knowledge. Hey, thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. 15 months support. Appreciate that. So when we did the math on comparing the 2 meter side just straight fails. Fails bad. Now, I will give a shout out that they did improve things on the 70 centimeter side. And that is actually in juxtaposition to when I first tested this radio, the transparent one. I bought the transparent radio. I made the video on it. You can go watch my review. And they reached out to me and said, we fixed all the problems with this green one that they sent me. We'd like to send it to you. And so they did, in the sense that on 70 centimeters, it's no longer creating these crazy spurious emissions and harmonics, but you still have a problem with it still allowing you to get on 2 meters. So while they fixed part of the show, they haven't fixed everything, and that's seen in kind of what you're seeing there with the results. So work to go. TID radio. So a lot of people are talking about the TID radio. Ooh, bad news. Mine, failed. First harmonic, 6 dB, negative 6 dB, and negative 4 on 70 centimeters, meaning it's putting out 4, maybe less, more, closer to 3 watts. The 2 meter side being 6.2, pretty good. I get 5 watts out of it. But look at the 70 centimeter side. That negative 4.4 of the first harmonic in comparison to the 43.5 when you're doing comparison, not meeting the FCC standards, right? Get rid of the music. What music? Is this a radio? Oh, be quiet. What music? What music is playing? Somebody tell me. That might be the metal plate in your head. You're picking up the local signals. I'm just kidding. Yeah, you got me freaking out. I'm like thinking like a ham. I can't be live streaming any music. And then also the third harmonic is worse. So fun, right? I got a question that is there ever an instance where the third harmonic has a higher? It's less attenuated than the second harmonic. And yes, here's your example on 70 centimeters. The second harmonic, which is into the, so if that is 70 centimeters, 800, so 1300 gigahertz or whatever, 1.3 gigahertz, it does fail. So, yep. Pretty bad. Now, I call this the Japanese Baofeng. I appreciate it's not really, but it kind of is. You can go look up more information if you want to know why. You can kind of consider the Yaesu FT4X the Japanese Baofeng. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Still a good radio. I like it. Now, pass. Complete pass. By the way, there is a bit of... We're pretty much done with radios that are not going to pass at this point. They're all pretty much going to pass at this point. But, still, we're going along for the ride. So the FT4X, it passes. You get 45 and 43 dB of attenuation, the difference between the fundamental and the second. And the third harmonic, even better on both. So good. Eric asks, you got some vids showing how to use the Tiny SA? I do. In fact, if I... Actually, let me find my video here. Hold on. I'll stop and show you this because I want people to actually... I do want people to do this on their own. I don't want you to trust me because I'm like one guy, right? I'm one guy with an instance of these radios. It would be a lot better off if we go back to the way things used to be with amateur radio where we were required to test our equipment to make sure they pass. So there it is. Test your amateur radio, Tiny SA Ultra Spectrum. We live in an amateur radio world. Let me pause this for a second, or mute at least. Let me go forward here. And yeah, here's me testing that talk pod and going through a number of details. And you can see those spurs. Look at those crazy spurs that this thing has. And I go into detail of what equipment you might need for working with attenuation, how to connect the radio up using attenuators. I'm using a RF sniffer there. It's a special device that we use for higher powered radios generally. HTs, you can get away with a real cheap attenuator. But yeah, look at that. Yeah, do that. Do more of that. All right, so another one that's also a Japanese Baofeng is the Alinco here. That's the I always forget the Alinco version numbers. It's the DJ VX50, the Fitty. Also not a bad radio, not too expensive. So also good. You got suppressions for 70 centimeters and 2 meters in the 40s on the second, and then on the third you get 50 and 43. Again, passing, fine. Now, borderline, we didn't get a ton of these borderlines, but that Wouxun KG-Q10, which I did a follow-on video, I did a first video on the Q10, and the Q10 was not passing. They had major problems. But on 2 meters and 70 centimeters, not a problem. We're actually passing with the harmonic suppression. 41, pretty close. 40 is borderline, but still getting it done, which is what you want. All right, next. A great radio. Classic, still one of my go-tos, particularly for using my MobiLink TNC3, is the Kenwood TH-F6. By the way, if you get an opportunity to buy one of these, if you can get one at a sub $200 mark, I would pop on it immediately. You can still get the batteries for them relatively inexpensively. Sean Weiland, rare Air L for Wouxun. I agree completely. I still recommend Wouxun for people that are looking for good radios. I think the only reason that they ran into problems with that KGQ10 is because it's a quad band. And whatever they got going on there, it's a lot. I think they just had issues with it. But they fixed it. You can buy them, buy two-way radio. They got some good ones that are available. You can just get the good ones now. That's the only ones they're shipping. Links are in the description. All right, the Kenwood THD74, discontinued, but often considered like one of the best radios, right? Best ever, best made radios of all time. Passes, no problem. 46 and 42 dB, negative, of course, we're talking. And then the difference between the third harmonic is 54 and 42. Great, good stuff. Yaesu FT5, the current kind of top of the line for Yaesu, of course, no problems. 45 and 42. So again, what am I talking about here, right? I'm gonna take a moment because that's another thing that I got comments on. The other comment I got was, well, why don't you take these really expensive Japanese radios out on your little field test and see if they will cause the same problems? I did it this morning. I loaded up some radios in my backpack, and I jogged to Paris Baguette, my favorite little Saturday, Sunday morning, grab a coffee and a pastry. I jogged. I stopped three times there. I did the test. The only time that I could hear any of the, and it's any of these radios you're seeing on my SDR, and I ran it recording with no squelch, was when I was right next to it. I attempted to transmit into it from right at the end of the block where I could still see my antenna. Couldn't pick it up. So there you go. If you were worried about that, well, there you go. And of course, the ID52, got to mention our ICOM radios, also completely in line, right? So 45 and 43 for the second harmonic, and then higher for third. Yeah, so we're going to do that. KD9VUK, don't worry, we're going to do that one live. I'm going to show you how to do all of that live. It's going to be fun. Or at least I hope it's going to be fun. We'll see. We got plenty of time. See, I'm going a little fast here because this is all just kind of a numbers thing. But yes, don't worry. We're gonna do that. All right, so the Motorola VX3, my smallest dual band HT. I've got a smaller handheld, but yeah, this one's fine. It's close, though. It's borderline. If you look right here, negative 10 to negative 50, pretty close because you take that 10 off and you're right by 40. And the 2-meter side's a little bit better. My VX6. Oh, this whole slide's a little bonkers. VX6 was borderline at 41 dB suppression there on the second harmonic on 70 centimeters. It's okay, but just an FYI on that. It is a tri-band radio, and I have a feeling when you start doing these multi-band type stuff, that is what gets you close to the borderline, as we kind of saw with the Wouxun and the more complicated, I would say, circuitry that goes into some of these radios. So yeah, there you go. I think the only one I missed was my Pico APRS, but going to what I've already showed on a video, this one was officially passed by the ARRL. So I have my seal of approval here that the Pico APRS meets the ARRL standards. And in fact, I posted a video of that, right? So, okay, again, going back here, right? We want to make sure that we're looking at the right stuff. So if you're holding this tiny SA in your hand and you see lines like this, where there's very little suppression between the even harmonics. Again, anything that transmits is going to have harmonics. Any circuit like this is going to create harmonics like these. It's up to the manufacturers to do something to suppress these harmonics. And spurious emissions, that's slightly different. A spur is going to be something in the circuit that causes non-linearity in the signal, and that's where you get these odd little spiky things kind of in between harmonics. So in the case of this talk pod, which you're looking at the image for, do you see how those lines are pretty much like multiples of each other? You can see them equal multiples. A spur would be like one shoved in between, kind of a little closer to one than the other. That's a bit different. Also should be suppressed, but the harmonics is important. No body. So there's all kinds of sciencey stuff. You could deep dive this. It's actually very fascinating. But for this, we're really just focusing on having a radio that won't literally transmit outside of the band of operation, right? How do you suppress the harmonics? Well, I'm going to give you the spoiler alert on that right now. Since you asked, I'm going to answer your question right now. The answer is you can't really, but there are some things you can do. Where is it? Here it is. So, soda beams, right? A lot of people know about soda beams. I've talked about their antennas. The UK company, they actually make a 2-meter bandpass filter that's designed to transmit through. Now, they mainly sell this for when you do a soda at like a repeater site and, first responder repeaters, ham radio repeaters, all this stuff, all this noise. This bandpass filter will help nullify that incoming noise, but it also helps in getting rid of all of your spurious emissions, right? So yes, this will do that as well. And I bought this, and I've also bought the one that's available on Amazon. I did link to that in my Amazon A store, so if you take that link, you can find it. But I haven't tested the Amazon one yet, so I can't really tell you if it's good or not. Hey, Wayne Smith, thank you for the support there with the 556. Pretty close to one of the better calibers, I'd say. So question, Josh, can you test the FTM 500? The reason I ask is I questioned if it was full duplex and was told it was. However, when watching someone use it for SATs, second VFO, and then it was cut off. So that's a Discord question. I'm not going to test it right now because it's packed away, but that might be something I can do for the after chat. So maybe ask your question in the after chat now, because I have to pull out the RF sniffer to test the FTM 400 or 500. I can test them all, FTM 500, 400, whatever. But yeah, I have linked to the DX Engineering. This is not an affiliate code of mine at all for that bandpass filter. Just FYI. Hobby PCB sells filters too. Did not know that. So thank you, Aiden. Appreciate that. All right. What next do I want to hit? Couple of things. We already hit the RNL, $140 for a Tiny SA Ultra is pretty much impossible to beat. You should go check that out. That's pretty good if you're interested in doing this. I do have a link to this RNL in the video. Again, I'm not affiliated with RNL. I also have a link to Amazon. It is still cheaper to buy from RNL even when you calculate shipping, but obviously Amazon is my affiliate code. I put a number of things in here on my affiliate links, like that attenuator. People ask me where that attenuator is. There it is. It's a 10-watt, 40 dB attenuator. You want at least 40 dBs of attenuation if you're going to test handhelds, and they should be 5 watts or less. You don't want to be doing like 6, 8, 10-watt handhelds because you don't want to damage your Tiny SA. By Two-Way Radio, also, I am an affiliate of By Two-Way Radio, so the KGQ10, I was happy that Wouxun, which is, again, a company that I supported and recommended before we had any problems with this particular radio and before I was affiliate for By Two-Way Radio. Still good. I still like this. I like the fact that it's quad band and it's a crossband repeater, like in the box. And Radioddity, if you want to buy that Baofeng clone, the GT5R, you get $15 if you use the link in the description. You will have to look for GT5R when you go there, but FYI. And so here is my actual spreadsheet on my data. So we can sort them by the second harmonic difference and third harmonic difference. And for those of you that are a Patreon of mine, I'm going to drop these slides and I'm going to drop this spreadsheet, or at least link to it so you can check it out because some of you may want that information. And yeah, I probably did say Amazon. So let's go ahead and show you how to go ahead and set up doing this test with the Tiny SA. Now, I've got the Tiny SA plugged into my computer already. It is USB-C. You will have to use your device manager to be able to set that up. But once you have that done, you have a little window like this. And again, I'm selecting the port. Where'd my little file, there the guy go? I'm selecting my port, which is port 16 in the upper left. I did not touch the answer here of 115200. Didn't change that. And I just hit, it said disconnected. I hit connected, and there you go. And you can see it's like actively sampling there at the bottom. So you're looking what kind of is a traditional looking SA. This is kind of what you'd expect. It's basically a radio, right? It's a radio that's giving you information about signal intensity. You can use an SA, like a tiny SA, to actually search for RFI generators, anything that creates interference in your home. They work actually pretty well for that because you get a little spur, a little intensity spot when you get close into the generator of that interference, right? So what do we want to do? So we want to do a harmonics test on our Motorola buddy here. So right there, this guy. Really good radio, right? Which we expect. Should be fantastic, we assume. So what I'm going to do is we have these fields on the left-hand side under connect. It says start in megahertz, stop. That's your bandwidth space. And then you have a center frequency. In that case, I had 446. And then you have span, right? So that Motorola only works on 70 centimeters. It's not a dual band. So I'm going to set the start frequency to 445, like that. And we need to have the stop at least encompass one of the harmonics. So let's make that, let's see. Let's try to get it at least to 13. We may not be able to because that's the other thing you're going to run into when you do these type of tests with spectrum analyzers, that the higher frequency ones get very, very, very expensive. This is not a very expensive spectrum analyzer, so as such, you can't go that high into the high end of the frequencies for the even harmonics. We should be able to get the second harmonic at least, which is 892 megahertz, but we're going to try and go all the way up to 1784. I don't think we can do that, though. Did it? Oh, it did. All right, so we're all the way up to 1.7. Let's see if we can push it further. We might be able to. So let's make this 2.240. Sorry. 2240 point. Okay, good. Now that I think about that, I have this set in ultra mode, which I think takes it up to 6 gigahertz. So that should be 6,000 megahertz, hypothetically. All right. So if we transmit here, if we hit this little double chevron button, we're now going to be able to see. Oh, if I plug it in, that helps. Helps if you have the radio on and you got the dang feed line connected there, Josh. All right. Okay, back at it. So now, yeah, you see how the noise for it peaked up a little bit? So now when we transmit, hopefully we see something. Yo, dog. Oh. Okay, that's what I expected to see. There you go. So at the very left-hand side, right here where my little hand is, that's a marker. It's noting -5, and then you've got these spurs here, right? And they're not spurs, they're harmonics. So what I want to do is I want to create some markers so that we can measure them. These are really helpful if you're going to test a lot of radios like I did today. So what you can do is you can just kind of go where you think the marker is going to be somewhere in here and just right-click and say Add Marker. And then that... Oh, I see. I need to get this a little bigger for y'all. Give me a second here. There we go. Now I can really show you some work here. All right. Now you see that little white box? That white box is our first marker. And the first or second harmonic is going to be 892. So I got pretty close. But I'm going to put a marker for 446, which is the fundamental frequency, just so we have one. right? And then I'm going to make another one I'm going to double click it. When you're not seeing this, but when you double click it, you get a little pop-up. And I'm going to make it 892, which is the next harmonic, the second harmonic. You see that little red chevron that showed up there? There's your second harmonic. So I'm going to do another one. We're going to go add marker. And the third harmonic should be 1338.0-ish about. And we'll adjust these. And since we got it, we might as well use it. We'll add a fourth harmonic. This one is going to be 1784.0 megahertz. So now when we transmit, last thing I want to do is I want to set this to max hold. And of course I forgot how to do that. Oh, it's under calculate. There it is. So the calculate thing, we're going to set that to max hold. So there you go. So what max hold does is I can let go of the transmit button and it will hold the signals there for us to look at. So now, here we go. Let's see. Look at that. First green line, second one. There we go. So there you go. Where's my readout? Oh, buddy. Well, that's pissing me off. There's supposed to be the printouts on the far right side. That's how I got those images. And of course, you start and stop this thing. So if you go back to the slides really fast, check out. See on the far right side, there was those printouts, upper right hand corner of each image. Those are literally the markers. I don't know why they're not displaying. So of course, I've mucked something up between when I set this up the first time and when I set it up before. Let's see. We don't want LNA. We don't want attenuation. It's not that complicated a tool, Josh. How did you... Oh, there it is. Ha. Okay, it's that little toggle on the right next to it. So there you go. So now we're looking at those little triangles. Now we've got first fundamental frequency is -5. So that's the expression of power, transmitting power. We have our second at -47, so that passes, right? If you took -5 and subtracted -47 to it, you're still within -40, right? -40 dB is the FCC requirement. Then the next one is -47. If we do the same math, -47 minus -5, you're fine, right? So there you go. Ham Till It Hurts, love the name. Several of your contemporaries on YouTube, contemporaries. Well, this might be a serious comment. Here we go. Mentioned there are no harmonic standards for 70 centimeters, that the -40 dB only refers to 2 meters. Are they correct or just wishful thinking? Great show. So the truth of that is, I don't really know. We could probably deep dive the doc here. My contemporaries. That's funny. My general way of looking at this is if we're doing 40, why not do 40 up the line? There is a reasonable place where you would not do that as much. Like the spurs, I think, become less important, or the harmonic suppression becomes less important. And I'm guessing that's when you get towards the insane directionality of microwave communication. But for things like 70 centimeters and 800 megahertz, I would assume 800, 900. I would assume, 1 gig, even that. I would assume you'd still probably need to keep an eye out for that. It says right there, 30. Yeah, no, I know, Mike. No, I know. But the question, I think, was, should we extend that, or at least in our brains, what should be the upper limit when you look towards the higher frequencies? And I think that there is something listed, but... when some of these documents were made, people weren't even on the microwaves. So they were like, we'll just do whatever we want. How's that sound? Somebody post in the chat if you guys know the subsection, and I'll pull it up off of 97 if you know it. It may not be one. There may not be one, straight up. But I don't see a reason why 40 is not an okay number for 70 centimeters. You can make an argument that who cares, and that's fine. Honestly, I don't care if your answer to me doing this whole video, an hour of my time, is I don't care, I'm going to do what I want. That doesn't bother me. Do what you want. But also don't pretend like I didn't test this. Like I totally tested this stuff. Yeah, but Don, that would be the opposite. Setting a number above 440 that amateurs would have to follow, I would assume would be good for telecoms. But I think you maybe are thinking that if they set that arbitrary number for hams, that then telecoms would have to abide by that. That's an interesting point. That's possible. I could see that. So testing my Motorola, here it is. There's my there's the numbers. Yeah, Jeff, that's probably the best way. That's the way hams should operate. We shouldn't cause interference. And it would seem like from my field testing, my jog to go get Korean pastries, that anything around 40 dB, any of the radios that I was transmitting on that were around 40 dB of suppression below the fundamental, I had no issue. They were not creating spurious emissions to the point that I could pick it up on my SDR when I was a couple hundred feet from my house. So, yeah, 40 seems completely reasonable. So you're saying that there's a Hippocratic cause no harm, but the ham version of that cause no interference within the ham bands? That makes sense. Justin, can you do the UK5 next? If I had one, I don't have one. Yeah, so I appreciate that $160. Oh, not even 160. See, I keep making the tiny SA more expensive than it is. $140 is probably a road too far for a lot of folks. I get it, but that is ridiculous. I can't say this enough. What an amazing time it is to be alive. To be able to get a spectrum analyzer that's decent, and this is decent. I don't care what anybody says, but the Tiny SA Ultra is really nice. It's really nice for what it is. Up to 6 gig. It does up to 6 gig, guys. It's crazy. Oh, the Quancheng? Oh, I did the Quancheng. I left that out. Okay, hold on. Let's go back. So that was the one I was missing. No problem. We can do it live. So here's the Quancheng. So Quancheng, SpaghettiOs. Quancheng failed every one. Wait, how did I not have a slide for the Quancheng? Did I miss the... Wait. You lie. I did. Oh, I left all the dramatic parts out. The Quancheng was actually bad on both. So, not good. The Quancheng had negatives, and again, this is mine. So Hayden's are good. Like, he made a ton of Quancheng videos. So the Quancheng had a negative 38 dB difference between the fundamental and the second harmonic, and then the 70 centimeter side was even worse. It was negative 37 and negative 35. If I were to pick another radio that I would do a field test for to see how far away from my house I could get, I would take the Quancheng just to check. And again, that 10 dB, it's roughly 5 to 10 dB off of what the other ones are that are borderline. So your 40s, your 42s, 45s, that kind of thing. I wouldn't expect it to be any more than like a, I hear you in the noise, good buddy. I just can't make you out. It's not going to be that much. Even at negative 37, that's not that big a deal. Neither's negative 35. So while I made it red because it didn't pass the 40 dB number that I set, still, it's probably not that bad. No, I don't. I do not have any. Well, so I have the Anytone, but it's an older Anytone, and it's not front panel programmable, and I don't think I have a simplex. Wait, hold on. Let me think about that. We might be able to do this. The best I can get you is an Anytone 858. FT60? Yeah, FT60's pass. I've tested that one like so many times. Hold on, let me see if I can find a frequency for.
It doesn't always translate into a particular event in California.
What is this?
When there's a strong El Nino, more often than not, it is what it's.
That's on our local repeater? Get out of here. All right, hold on. I can change my zone. Hey, I got it. Okay. Yeah, we can test it. Here we go. I did make a I did set that up. So there's your anytone. What about HF frequencies? Well, we're not there today, right? But yeah. So what about them? There are some standards that are set by the FCC for different frequencies down in the HF side. Not as serious though. They're not as hardcore about the spurious emissions down there. And hardcore is the wrong word. Of course, I'm saying the wrong words here, but you know what I mean. There's not as much. There's more leniency. Even leniency is the wrong word because we're not expecting the secondary and third. Test the 705. Oh, that's not a bad idea. Test the AliExpress spray. I have the Space Patrol. I can test the Space Patrol. All right, so there's our anytone. Now, because we set up those markers, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the little arrow button again, and that'll clear it out. So now we're transmitting. So here we go. Ready? Ah! Stop it. That Motorola is a sensitive receiver. All right, max hold is on. Uh-oh. Wait. -5, -49, negative. Passes. Yeah, pass. No problem. Anytone, good job. Good job, Anytone. Good job, bud. 705. Test the 705 to wrap things up. Yeah, why not?
Radio waves is harmful.
Someone finds their radio has horrible spurious emissions. They'll just continue to use it, right? Yeah, of course. So, again, all right. I think if you had to ask me, like, is there a way we could live in a world where there were no radios that created spurious emissions? Would we like to live in that world? Yeah, sure, of course. What was Ice-T that said, yeah, I'd love to live in a world with no guns. You give up yours first. So it's like, I don't expect this to disappear, right? Like, I don't expect this to go away. I'm not even, like, saying, I'm not wagging my finger at you. I'm saying that there are real consequences to some of this stuff, some of it. And I feel it is beholden on all of us, you included watching me, that you do know how to test this stuff. You know how to do this, or at least have the thought in your head that you could do this if if the push came to shove. I appreciate that some of you might just pull up my video and, that's okay as a starting point. But if it's me, with the privileges that I have, privilege again being like, look at this mountain of radios that I have. So I probably won't be using the Quancheng. Okay. Am I going to give that away? No, I'm not, because it's got spurious emissions, right? So, that's the way I look at it. There's a super... K-Booty made you do it. 666. Shout out. Shout out to... That was Hellfest. You missed... That was the right one for Hellfest. Oh, there's K-Booty. Test the AliExpress Space Rangers walkie-talkies. I have a Space Patrol, but those are CBs. They're not... K-Booty, you're going to have to link me to it, bud. Let's get that 705. Let's wrap things up with the 705, all right? How's that sound? Hold on. The ultimate radio hoarding excuse. But honey, they made spurs. You just tell your wife, what do you want me to do, honey? You want me to pollute the band? I keep buying all these radios and they keep having all these spurs. They're not suppressing their harmonics, honey. Okay, here we go. Okay, 705. And its microphone going to be needed. And we're going to need to go down to SMA from BNC. Do I have that? Oh, I do. I have to break out the expensive job. Here we go. I have to bring out my coax attaché case to be able to do this effectively. So we need to go from... Oh, Jesus. We need to go from BNC to SMA. Get our middle adapter. BNC. Definitely cross-thread it. That's the first thing you got to do. Make sure you cross-thread it. Your really expensive connection kit. Cross-thread the crap out of those guys. And then throw your very expensive radio on your slightly less expensive radios as a little sacrifice to the RF gods. Oh, there we go. All right. The intermediate connection type is a threaded two-way connector. I can show you. Actually, if you go watch my video I did on those. Okay. We're good. Okay. Okay, good. Let's go back over here. Bring the microphone with me. That's part of this whole thing, I think. And we're going to reset this. All right, here you go. What do we think? Do you think it's going to pass? I would be shocked if it didn't pass. Yeah, there you go. So first frequency is negative 5.6 dB, and then the second harmonic is negative 48, and then negative 49. So pass. Now, so I'll show you. Let's do this again to wrap things up. And by the way, thanks everybody for hanging out with me. We're still going to be doing the after chat, so feel free to take the link in the description over the Discord and go to #live-stream. That's where we meet up. Now, Misha DeBear, we want me to drag out the H17 and 818 now. I'm not going to do that for the live stream, but I can go grab it in between doing this live stream and the after chat, and then if the time comes up, we can test that too. But let me do the last one. I'll show you how to set this up. So I kind of already displayed or demonstrated how to set this up on your computer. Again, using TinySA-app. You can get it off of the TinySA website, at least the link to it. And all you need is the EXE. Just download the EXE. It'll run just fine. So I'm going to change the start frequency to 145, like, 146, but 145, I just want a little bit of space right there. And I'm going to make the end frequency. We can leave the stop at 2200, although that's like way more than we need. We're going to have to go in and change some of these points because they're no longer going to be valid for 2 meters. So we'll go to this guy here, double click on him. You're not seeing this, but it's making a pop-up. So I'm saying 146.580 is what we're going to be on, which is the ham radio adventure frequency. Obviously, we're doing an adventure in radio right now. 393.162 is the second point that we want. And the third is going to be 439.74. And the last one is going to be 586.32. Okay, good. Still connected. We're still there. I'll go ahead and click that, clearing it out. I'm going to change over my radio to 2 meters. 146.58. Ooh, wait, right? Yeah. Okay. So it's gonna try and jump on me. So you can just go in and do it like this, which is a little bit time consuming, or you can click it and you can just manually enter it if you want, but whatever. Let's do it this way. Okay. Back over here. All cleared out. Here you go. Even better. Does even better on 2 meter suppression. So, again, we're putting out 5 watts. I didn't test it with 10. Oh, geez. Do I need to do that to be thorough? Crap. All right. You guys got me. I'm breaking out the power cable. So as everybody knows, the 705, when connected to a DC source, will put out 10 watts instead of 5 watts. So I will go ahead and plug that in now. So hold on one second. So now power output is showing 100%, which is 10 watts. So, oh, would need a different attenuator. That's probably true. Could be famous last words for this tiny SA, but hey, that's why you watch me, right? Just blowing stuff up. So, uh-oh. What happened? It disconnected. The tiny SA disconnected itself because it's worried about this. What do I want to do? I think this could be fairly it literally doesn't want to connect. That's funny. It knows. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to blow this up because I have the right equipment to actually do this test safely. I have the RF sniffer, which will go all the way down to negative 55 dB, which is way safer. So I will rig that up just to have it for the after chat. So if you want to follow me to the after chat, take the link in the description. It knew. Smart equipment. Can't get mad at that. All right, so there you go. I hope this was live and educational. It was edutainment, as it were. Talking about the things you should care about, spurious emissions and harmonics. They're a big deal. Now, how big of a deal? That's up for you to decide. I think they're important. I don't want to walk around with a jank radio that puts out my signal all over the place. And I'll leave you with that prepper moment or that prepper thought that came in my head. And a lot of the prepper guys, again, these hardcore Baofeng guys who are like, I'm just going to go in the field with my Baofeng and I'm going to be the LPOP. I'm the listening post and observation post, and I'm only gonna break radio silence to let people know about, troop movements and all those things. But you damn well better believe I'm gonna use a Baofeng to do it, and the dirtiest Baofeng I can find, so that I'm simultaneously transmitting on 4 frequencies at once. That's what I really want to do. That was the part that's like stuck with me. I'm like, guys, if you really care about that kind of stuff, don't you want to be like on a radio that is spectrally clean, spectrally pure? I would think so, but yeah. Dawn, don't even be in the chat doing this whole thing. I got a discount code at Gigaparts, and my discount code is bigger than other people's discount codes. So check out my link in the description for. Also, just give Mike some love too, of course. I would like you to take your orders and split them up equally between Mike, Kate, MRD, Ham Radio Tube, and myself, please. Let's see. Any chance you can check the IC 7300 in the after chat? Ooh, that's likely not going to happen. It's in the Go box, and that's rigged up for something that's going to happen next week. We can look into the HF side of this, though. If we get questions on that, we can do a bit of a side topic on the HF side of checking spurious emissions. DD Radio, that might have to be a video on its own. And well, thank you for the super chat. Geez, for $10, you really make me want to drag out the Go box on that one. Shoot. We can at least test this with the 705. We can at least test with the 705. The question is going to be what the difference will be when you put the additional amplification on. You might get more spurs, but I don't know that your harmonic suppression is going to be that different. Have you tested any of the SDR boards to see if they're... Well, for spurs, there are some SDRs that have spur problems, but this is largely... All of today's video was on transmit, right? So keep that in mind. All right. I'm going to wrap up the show here, and I'm going to get ready. I'm going to turn things around. I'm going to get that RF sniffer connected to the 705, because then if we want to do HF, we're going to need that too. And then I will go live for the after chat, which is all about helping you get on the air in amateur radio. Could be related to spurious emissions, but it doesn't have to be. It could be any question. So go follow us. Take the link in the description. Join us over there, and I'll see you in a couple of minutes, right? All right. Let's do the thing. Big shout out to the... Oh my God, it's fast again. I apparently need to fix that from last time. A little faster than I want it to be. Thank you, patrons. I appreciate the all the support you give to me to allow me to do all this stuff. And yeah, I hope this is actually effective. Spurious emissions. Well, it's hams helping hams is what I like to call the after chat. The after chat is usually hams helping hams. It has been anyway for a couple of months now. But the spurious hams helping hams with spurious emissions, that's just crazy enough that I might do it. That's a bad title there. I can't do the Micro Machines guy. The Micro Machines guy's voice was too fast. I can't speak that fast. I used to do that though. Way back in the day, used to do that. It got too much though. Started hurting my my vocal cords. Cats also emit spurious emissions. They do. Oh, Barry, got it. Barry meant I meant SDR transmitters. Would be great to see them. Well, the 705 is a SDR transmitter. My next one would be the Hermes because that's the only one I have. That's I think 7610 is also an SDR. So homebrewman. So there you go. All right, guys, enjoy the memes as I close things up, and I'll talk to you shortly. It's only going to take me 10 minutes or so, and you'll be seeing my dumb face again. All right? Enjoy the memes. 73. Do I have a Flex Radio? Do you have a Flex Radio? No, I don't. Not to say I wouldn't try one. So anybody listening who knows a certain person, reply to my email. Although I've had like big thoughts about like buying a Flex Radio and then just setting it up in my dad's place and hiding it away somewhere that he wouldn't notice. Because he's like high altitude. He's 8,000 feet, 82, something like that. I could do an easy little dipole multi-band, maybe an off-center fed. Be sweet. Be so nice. All right, guys, see you in the after chat.